Rick, you've complimented your team on being able to stay focused. Does it get harder the later you get into the regular season to stay focused when kids start thinking about tournaments and the postseason?
Yeah, I think, again, yeah, you got to be careful with it. Weather changes outside. They have their life outside of what we do here, and there's a lot of different things that can come in play here. But you'd also like to think it's a time that they get excited, knowing that they've worked hard to give themselves a chance to be in a good position to have a terrific year. And we obviously have had a good year, but there's a lot more basketball out there to be had if we're willing to stay focused, like what you're talking about, and keep doing what we've been doing, and understand that we still do have to get better. And as we know, the season is already over for some teams, and some teams, very few, but some will be playing another month from now. So if you want to be in that group, it's utmost importance that you stay focused and realize that you've got to want to finish it.
Coach, do you feel like you guys are peaking at the right time, and when you've won 8 and 9, and you feel like you have it rolling the way you want to right this time of year?
You know what, Rob, I don't know if I could say we're peaking. I hope we can get a lot better. That means peaking. I do know this: we have to get better. We're going to have to be better with some of the things I mentioned to you all a couple of weeks ago. We still not got it where we want everything, but it's the effort there. We've got to make sure that we give our team the best chance by being fresh mentally, fresh physically. And as we know, every team in the country, I think, is working through some kind of little nicks here on each different guys, and that you've got to try to manage that as well. But I don't know if I think in terms of peaking. I know you guys get tired of me saying it, but I just keep thinking about how can we get better today.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, you guys obviously are undefeated at home. You beat some really, really good teams, but Arkansas has won 5 out of 6 on the road of late, and they won at Florida, where they hadn't won since 1995, if you can believe that. Just wondering, what's your all's confidence level since you've played so well at home, and what do you think about Arkansas as a road team of late?
Well, I think, again, it's hard to win road games anywhere. When what you just mentioned is very impressive, and it's hard. I don't care where you go, and any coach in the league, any coach in any league would tell you that when on the road, you never know what it's going to be like, but you're going to have to play good basketball, and certainly Arkansas has done that. We've been able to do it, and you go back and look at the teams that normally are the top teams in the league normally do have good records at home, but going to win. You should at the top only to be good at home. You got it on the road, and certainly winning 5 out of 6 and doing what they're doing is really impressive.
How confident do y'all feel at home? I mean, do you feel unbeatable, or?
Well, you know what? We tell our guys all the time. I don't know if I ever think anybody would feel it. We know that we can't take being at home for granted. It won't just happen just being in. I mean, we think that we've got the best home court situation in the country, and I'm sure Arkansas fans feel that way, Kentucky fans feel that way, Auburn fans feel that way. Probably I could keep naming teams that feel that way. You can't, we talk as much what we do on the road, at home, going on the road, and we know we got to play good basketball, plain and simple. I mean, our fans, have they helped us this year? Absolutely. I don't think there's any question that home fans help home teams if the home team's playing good basketball. Home fans can't help you if you're not doing what you need to do to win a basketball game. They can't. As much as they want to, you still have to do your part, because in most situations, the home team, they're going to have fans behind them and trying to help them every way they can. And our fans have certainly helped us. There's no question about it.
Thanks.
Jimmy Himes, David Pascal, and Karthik.
Rick, couple things. One, I wanted to get your reaction to the amount of money raised for Zeigler through the Go Fund. If you would comment on that, please.
Well, I think when we talk about our fans, I think that we talk about the spirit and what they bring to our games, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, women's softball, women's basketball, whatever it may be. We talk about Ball Nation being what it is, but I think what they did just shows you it runs a lot deeper than that. I think it shows you that they have we live here in a part of the country where East Tennessee, but just not East Tennessee, the state of Tennessee and people nationally. I think they saw what happened to them and certainly said, hey, we want to step up and do our part. But I think it speaks volumes to anybody that contributed to help him. So it's, I got a wonderful text from Jerry Stackhouse right away saying, hey, whatever I need to do, whatever we need to do from here, we'd be willing to do it. But before anything could happen, it was already moving in a way that I'm not sure any of us knew what would happen, but it was just over. I think he would tell you it's overwhelmed he and his family in the kind of support that they've received from everyone.
Also, the first game against Arkansas, you had a number of charges called. And I wonder if trying to avoid that, does that take away any of your aggressiveness?
Well, of course, it does. I mean, we talked about it going into the game that, they have a player that wants to, he's going to play more or less hanging around the basket and that's what he does. He impacts the game that way. But it's like anything, that's one part of a team that you game plan for. And you do it, whether you have a shot block or whatever you do. I mean, when you look at the other team, you're looking at not just one player, but all their players. Arkansas is a really good defensive team, really good. And they work really hard on the ball. They work hard away from the ball, and they've got a guy that they've chosen to. And I think that's probably earlier in the year. I think when they got off to a 0-3 start, they were being a little more aggressive there. But now they've gone to really a drop coverage back in there that's really helped them, and it's what they do, and they do it well.
Rick, a similar question, because that was obviously the topic after the game in Fayetteville, and a couple of your players did say that you start thinking about it more, and even when you do drive, you're a little more hesitant. Have you noticed that in the last few games? I mean, after you addressed it with your players, have you been pleased with the way they've responded after that game on that front?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to drive the ball. We're not going to stop driving the ball, and again, that's always a hot topic in college basketball about the charge, because I said it after that game is an extremely difficult play to make, but it'll come up for discussion again. I mean, it always does in terms of what's best for the game but that's a part of the game, and when it's a part of the game and it's part of the rule book, you've got to learn to play within the rules, and then you've got to be able to still be aggressive, but know that, again, it's no different than playing against, some teams protect the rim with big shot blockers. Some protect it with not just one or a couple guys, that secondary defender coming over, making plays like that, which, again, they're legal plays as long as you get yourself set up and do it. But is it a hard call for officials? I think they would tell you that, and goaltending is probably two of the hardest calls that they have to make.
I also wanted to ask you just real quick about scoreboard watching. I mean, the way the SEC race is this year, it's so bunched up. Have you had to talk to your players about that? I know it looked like Auburn was about to go down the other day, and then they pulled it out in overtime. I just didn't know if you addressed all that as far as the focus kind of thing.
Well, I think our players know what's going on in college basketball. I do. I think they do. I think they know what goes on in our league. I think our guys love this league. I think they love playing in this league. And it's still, I told you, I don't understand why, it seems like if you're 500 in this league, it doesn't mean a whole lot when you look at other teams that teams aren't 500 and are already considered in the tournament. I don't understand it. I think this league has improved so much. And there's so many teams in our league that I think, again, I want us to be a league when 7, 8, 9 teams in the tournament. But to your question, they're aware of what's going on. They know what's going on within the league.
Karthik?
Yep. Hey, Coach. It's John Fulkerson's senior day tomorrow. What has he meant to this program, in your opinion?
Well, we've talked about John a lot, and he's think about it. I've been here. This is the end of my 7th year. This is the end of his 6th year, and was one of our primary guys when we got here that we focused on and wanted to be a part of our program. And we know that he's had his ups and downs with injuries, but it'll be different with John not being here. I mean, I'm glad he came back and gets to have a real senior night. Last year, the COVID year, it wasn't what it should be, and I do think our fans really want to show him their appreciation for all that he's put into our program.
Reese, Mike, and Rob?
Kind of going off that, Fulkerson has been playing a lot more of the 4. What have you seen that's been so successful out of him playing the 4 spot?
Well, honestly, he still does pretty much what he's done here in his whole time here. We like him moving, obviously without the ball more. We like that. And in terms of his position, he really hasn't changed positions since he's been here. You know, our 4s and 5s really pretty much do the same thing. They're interchangeable. Defensive matchups might dictate that being a little bit different. But again, we just need John to be aggressive. We need him to take shots as opposed to trying to make it harder than it needs to be. And when he's playing good basketball, you know, obviously, you know, that gives us a big lift.
Go Mike, then Rob.
Rick, your team's been rebounding at a much higher rate, maybe the past 4 or 5 games. Is there anything that's changed? Is it just a dedication? And how much has Brandon, I guess, contributed to that uptick?
Well, Brandon was, you know, terrific. I mean, his last 2 games, you know, he's gotten his hands on some basketballs, and the way he's moving to go get some outside of his area, what was impressive, certainly in the Auburn game. And it has always been a point of emphasis, and it's just a matter, but it's a lot. You can talk about it all you want. It's a matter of willpower and guys really understanding, hey, this is what's got to be done. And I think the best teams want to do it more consistently than others, and we need to be more consistent. We need to get our guards rebounding. We need everybody doing it, and we need to understand on the defensive end how important it is to play good, solid defense, but finish it with a rebound. And then on the offensive end, the number that we send to the glass, we need them to go every time.
Coach, you don't have a ton of veterans, that are playing, but Santi, Josiah seem like they're really, you know, strong leaders. And the freshmen that are playing so much, Kennedy and Zakai, don't seem like they're scared of it. Do you like the mental makeup of your team headed into March?
I do. When, you know, where we are right now, I mean, you think about it, we got one regular season game left and come through a very competitive conference, and we've already, one of the top 4 teams for the tournament. Hopefully there's a lot of basketball left to play. I'd like to think that Santi and Josiah will continue to lead the way they have. And because I do think that these younger guys have, when you think about it, there's been oftentimes this year that we've had 3 true freshmen out, and sometimes 4, but really 3 of them out there quite a bit. And the way they've been able to stay with it, and I don't think they're afraid of the moment. I don't. I think that they're ready to embrace that. But it goes back. I could sit here and tell you each one of the guys, and we talked about it yesterday, where we've got to get improvement from each and every individual on the team to keep playing the way we want to keep playing. But it's hard because the same thing we want, there's a lot of other teams that want it. And it goes back to really the first question about, can we stay focused the way we need to? And that, I hope, will not only come from the coaches, which I know they'll do their part, will the players do it themselves and make sure that they realize, hey, this is what you've worked for. Now let's see if we can make the most of it.
And Coach, just to slip one in about Arkansas, obviously JT Notte is putting up big numbers, but when you throw on the film and start scouting them, what worries you about them offensively?
Well, I mean, you got a guy that can go for 30 some. I mean, he's done it. Points. I think they're really balanced. Now, you talk about a team that's really has, I think, good chemistry, and you know, it looks like Eric has really cut his rotation back to what he feels comfortable with, where he feels like he's getting the most productive minutes from guys. And but you're talking about a team that defends. I mean, they would not be where they were if they weren't extremely well coached, if they weren't talented, like all the teams that if you're winning, we coaches know we've got talent, but they've got some guys that can explode and go get some big buckets. And we know that. And, but I think he would tell you that he's more built his team around on the defensive end, and it shows up in how they play.
Finish up with Bob and Trey.
Yeah, Rick, I guess 58-48, do you expect another defensive struggle, or do you see this as a totally different game? Or what do you expect from a pace style kind of?
I think pace-wise, both teams will keep trying to play the pace. We both like to get out and go. I mean, there's no doubt that both teams want to get out and try to score early because I think both teams have respect that they're going to be defended in the half court. And so getting your defense set is really, really important. And Will it be different? I don't know. I mean, I could have never thought in my wildest imagination we'd have our 3-point guards with 4 fouls up there and Josiah fouling out. I don't think anybody would see that kind of grinding game happening even there. But I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know. I think if both teams were playing really, really well, I would expect it to be a higher scoring game.
Maybe just make it first one to 60 wins.
Well, based on that last one, I don't know if anybody would get there, you know, because I do think both teams have improved, and I think it's going to get even harder as we keep going down the road here.
Thanks.
Hey, Rick, talking about your freshmen and how they have grown throughout the year compared to previous years, how do you think this group has matured with you going into your last regular season game, especially guys like Jonas and Brandon, just taking on that role inside the locker room and how they've grown through the year?
Well, I think those two guys in particular, it was when they came into the situation, it's just so different. And I think they're all kind of caught off guard or surprised that it's much harder than they probably envisioned. There's so much more into the details that go into just everything you do, not just one particular area, but everything that you do. And so I think, were they a little bit overwhelmed coming in? I do once we got going, but also the difference, you know, we did get the summer with most of these guys. Last year we didn't. I think that was important. And then, you know, you get going, then throughout the year, there's so many ups and downs that you deal with from, you know, once we practice during the summer, a little bit of break, come back, and then you start going, you know, with your calendar that you set up, and as you have those long month practices where you're just dying to play somebody else, and then you get out there, we have a scrimmage maybe, and then the reality of maybe not playing as many minutes as everybody thinks they're going to play once we get started. But for guys to hang on and continue to work the way those guys did, I think is impressive. And but I would tell you this, in all honesty, if Olivier hadn't gotten hurt, even though both of those guys we felt started turning the corner, how much they would have played, I don't know. I don't. And but the fact that when Olivier did go down, they both had been working to a point where they were ready to take advantage of that opportunity, and they've done a good job with it.
Thank you, Coach.
Right. Thank you, guys.
We'll have John Fulkerson in just